Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 149 in the book of Genesis. Today, we're going to look at a 17-year-old who's going to save the world. It's Joseph. The thing that struck me in the story today is that Joseph is 17. He's one of 12 brothers. They're the sons of Jacob. They're a brand new nation, just with a handful of people, but the nation is called Israel. So Israel is the person. It's who used to be Jacob. That's Joseph's father. So Jacob turns into Israel. So Israel is a person. He's also a nation, and he's also turns into a physical place. So the Lord is favoring Joseph with dreams, and his brothers quickly decided to murder him. So Joseph is approaching, and then this happens. So this is from Genesis chapter 37, verse 18. They saw him from afar. The brothers saw Joseph from afar. Before he came near to them, they conspired against him to kill him. They said to one another, "Here comes this dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. Then we will say that a fierce animal has devoured him, and we will see what has become of his dreams." But when Reuben, so Reuben's the oldest brother and Joseph is the youngest brother, but when Reuben heard it, he rescued him out of their hands, saying, "Let us not take his life." And Reuben said to him, "Shed no blood. Throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him, that he might rescue him out of their hand and restore him to their father." So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the robe of many colors that he wore. His father made the robe. And they took him and threw him into a pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. So what we see here is this conspiracy of 11, kind of 10 brothers against their dreamer brothers. And he is favored, Joseph is favored by his father and the Lord. And they have murderous intent, which is kind of usurped by Reuben, who kind of comes up with a bit of a rescue plan. So why does God favor Joseph? Well, God favors Joseph to save the brothers, to literally save the murderers, the ones that wanted to murder him, and also to save the nation. So Jesus' line is going to come through one of these murderous brothers, Judah. So Reuben is already in trouble with his father. Maybe this is the reason that he launches this rescue plan to get back in favor with his father, because as you may remember from the last chapter where he sleeps with his own stepmother, kind of sticking his finger in his own father's eye. So ironically, we're going to see this conclusion here later in the book of Genesis, is what is meant for evil, the Lord is going to redeem. So this is very similar to the sacrifice of Jesus, which is also meant for evil. He's conspired against by his own people. He's pictured as a suffering Savior, kind of manhandled and stripped and hungry. And he's the one that turns out to save sinners. And similarly, Joseph is this sort of proto-savior where he turns out to save the sinners of his own brothers. All right, let's continue with the story. Verse 25. Genesis chapter 37, verse 25. Then they sat down to eat. So they're eating. Joseph is in the pit, just very callous. And looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels bearing gum, balm, and myrrh on their way to carry it down to Egypt. So for those of you who like the movie Dune, these are spice traders. Then Judah said to his brothers, "What profit is it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites. And let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our own flesh." And his brothers listened to him. Then the Midianite traders passed by, and they drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit, and they sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took Joseph to Egypt. So they kind of reach this point where what profit is in there from murder versus the sale into slavery? Now, apparently Reuben, who kind of wants to rescue him, is apparently off-site here. And Judah, the oldest, or Judah, the person whose line goes all the way down to Jesus, is the one that comes up with this plan to, let's not murder him, but let's sell him. Couple of points here. Now, first of all, this is the oldest that that wants to save the youngest. So the youngest is Joseph. He's 17 years old. And the things that we're going to expect of a 17-year-old is really what struck me about this story here today. Now, the Ishmaelites who they're sold to, it's only 2 generations back. You have the generation, one generation up, that's the father's generation, that's Jacob and Esau's generation. Then you have another generation, which is Isaac and Ishmael of Abraham, and these people are descendants of Abraham's son Ishmael. So it's only 2 generations. So that's interesting, but it could have been hundreds of years. All right, so these guys are traders. They're doing it with camels. It's a big deal. It's sort of an industrial scale trade of spices. He's sold for 20 shekels of silver, which is 220 grams of silver, which is really about 7 ounces of silver. So they didn't even get a good price for him. This was sort of an average to slightly below average price. And then finally, verse 29, when Reuben returned to the pit and saw Joseph was not in the pit, he tore his clothes and returned to his brothers and said, the boy is gone. Where shall I go? So let me just draw a couple of conclusions here today. First of all, families can do nasty things to one another. And so there's a call to, hey, do the right thing to people near you. Love those God has placed around you. Love the near. Secondly, let's look for similarities to Christ here. The whole Bible's about him. And here we see, themes of sacrifice and betrayal. He's sold at a price. He's humiliated. Joseph is going to be suffering, and lots of suffering is going to be down the road for him too. He too is going to have this conspiracy against him, this agreement against him, very much like the sacrifice of Jesus, which was also meant for evil. God redeems it to save the people who don't deserve it, which in this case is his murderous brothers. So this is kind of, if you back off a little bit, is a very classic picture of Jesus saving sinners. But my favorite today is this 17-year-old young boy. The young are asked to do hard things. Much depends on it. The survival of the line of Christ, his family, of note, is dependent on what the 17-year-old young man does. So of note, Jesus does not come from the line of Joseph. He comes from the line of Judah, one of the murderous brothers. So he's going to be asked to resist sexual temptation, follow the calling of the Lord, endure the betrayal of his brothers, work responsibly for decades, and then he's going to have an impact back on his brothers. So back to 17-year-olds. 17-year-olds has a 17-year-old in this story saves our world. It's a critical age. So if you're involved in a high school ministry or a campus ministry, take it to heart. What you're doing is important. Why? Because a 17-year-old in today's story is gonna save the world. Thanks for listening.